Your Legislators is made possible by the Minnesota Corn Growers Association. From developing best practices that help farmers better protect our natural resources to the latest innovations in corn-based plastics, Minnesota corn farmers are proud to invest in third-party research leading to a more sustainable future for our local communities. Minnesota Farmers Union, standing for agriculture, working for farmers. On the web at mfu.org.
Good evening and welcome to this week's version of Your Legislators. My name is Barry Anderson and I'll be your host and moderator for the program this evening. I want to remind you that this is your program and your opportunity to call in with your questions that we'll be delivering to our distinguished panel of guests, and we'll be introducing those guests to you very soon. The phone number for your call, for your questions, is 800-726-3178, or you can send them to us via email at yourtv@pioneer.org. Last week we weren't with you. We had an opportunity to participate in the Pioneer Public Television Pledge Drive, but we're back this week. The opportunity to discuss the public policy of the day. We're going to begin our program as we unravel the mysteries of St. Paul, as we do each week, by introducing our distinguished panel of guests. Let's begin with Representative Jennifer Schultz from District 7A in Duluth. Representative Schultz has been a frequent guest on our program over the last few years. Nonetheless, Representative Schultz, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, Barry. I represent District 7A, which is the eastern half of the city of Duluth. I'm in my 8th year as a state legislator, and I chair the Human Services, Finance, and Policy Committee. I serve on the Taxes Committee, Ways and Means, Redistricting, and Health, Finance, and Policy. And so I have a background in health economics. I'm a full professor at the University of Minnesota Duluth, and I've been teaching there since 2004. And I started in the legislature in 2015. So I've been very immersed in healthcare reform while I've been a state legislator.
And we were having a discussion before the program started that you're not only balancing the service, the work that you do in service to the residents of the city of Duluth, you're also teaching a couple of online classes for students at the U on health economics, as a matter of fact, as I recall.
That's correct, Barry.
All right, maybe we'll have a chance to put that health economics expertise to work before we're done today. Let's go to Senator Jeff Howe from District 13, Rockville. Senator Howe has been with us many times over the years. Senator Howe, tell us a little bit about your background, committees you serve on, and so forth, and. We won't talk about your brother, I guess, because he's been with us many times as well. So, Senator Howe?
There you go. Thank you, Barry. I tell you what, I represent District 13, which basically is in central Minnesota and wraps around St. Cloud. I serve on transportation, state government, local government, commerce, veterans, and pensions. I think I named them all. And then, I'm a retired firefighter, retired military guy, spent 38 years in the military, 26 years in the fire service. I own and operate a code consulting business where I do fire code, building code, and housing code enforcement and consulting with local cities. So glad to be here.
Very good. Delighted to have you with us. A frequent guest with us also, Senator John Hoffman from District 36, Champlin. Senator Hoffman, many times we have Senator Hoffman and Senator Abler on, and when we have the two of those guys on, we can send everybody else home. But we're not going to do that tonight, Senator Hoffman. But I do want you to introduce yourself, tell our viewers a little bit about the committees you serve on, your background, and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Justice Anderson. You know, it's funny because I was just reminiscing the one time when we just started kind of going back and forth and then turned some questions over. You just threw your hands up in the air and you just shook your head and just smiled, big smile. And it was like, well, that's what it's supposed to be about, you know, interactive engagement. John Hoffman, I live in Champlin, Senate District 36, which encompasses all of Champlin parts of Coon Rapids and Brooklyn Park. And I was elected in 2012, reelected in 2016 and 2020. And it's good to be back here, Barry, on your show. I remember when you guys had your birthday celebration for the anniversary of shows. It was great to be on that one, just to bring in the cake, on so to speak. I serve on Technology and Reform Committee, Human Services Reform, both the policy and the finance side of it, as well as aging and long-term care. Serve on the Governor's Workforce Development Council, and I'm also the vice chair of the Minnesota School Trust Lands, which is all about taking the money that belongs to our students and making sure it gets to them from the school trust lands that were set aside back in 1858. So it's always a pleasure to be here, and it's good to be back. Thank you.
All right, very good. And last but certainly not least, joining us from District 8, Fergus Falls, Representative Jordan Rasmusson. Representative Rasmusson, introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you, Justice Anderson. Great to be with everyone this evening. My name is Jordan Rasmusson, and I represent Otter Tail County in the Minnesota House. I live with my wife, Emma, in Fergus Falls. I am privileged to serve on the Human Services Committee with Representative Schultz, in addition to the Commerce Committee, Capital Investment Committee, and then the Pension Commission. Before running for the legislature, my background is in the business world as a private equity investor. And so I like spreadsheets, and I like looking through the budget bills as they're coming here at the legislature.
So I know that viewers are going to want to have a discussion about some of the action that occurred in the House today. I believe on the issue of refunding the money, or I should say refurbishing, filling up again the unemployment insurance accounts. And we'll come back to that in a minute. But I want to go to a couple of questions that came in before our program tonight, because we didn't have a program last week. And we had a question from a viewer that is a long-standing issue. This viewer from St. Paul wants to know that according to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, we have over half of our sewage treatment systems that are inadequate. And this is a problem not only in the urban areas, but also, of course, in rural areas because of the watershed issues. The question is this an issue that the legislature is going to deal with this year? Let's start with you, Senator Hoffman. What about this question of sewage treatment systems?
Thank you, Justice Barry Anderson. And, I forgot at the very beginning, I give a shout out to my wife, Yvette, who's watching, and as well. I hope my daughter is as too. But that's an issue that has been around for a while. And it seems like it's always coming at the end of session when we get it put in. Is it bonding money? Is it money that's going to come out of the LCC? Matter of fact, there was a discussion that the LCCMR had put some money toward that, should have been toward that, because it was about clean water was the conversation that came out of it. So I don't serve, Barry, on that environmental committee anymore. I used to, although Representative Rasmusson, he mentioned Ingerbritsen at the very beginning. I believe he has the gavel for that committee, and I don't know if that's something that's coming up. When I'll see it is on the floor. But I do hear people talking about the fact that that infrastructure piece needs to be taken care of. And I think now's the time to really put our investment back in there. I mean, we're looking at money that should be put back into the state of Minnesota, especially that we're sitting on it, and making sure this is the bonding year as well, Barry. So why not? We our AAA bond rating is still pretty good, really good actually. And so I think now is an opportunity to make an investment in Minnesota and investment in those infrastructure projects that need it like that.
Representative Rasmusson, your thoughts on this question?
It's a great question. I serve on the Capital Investment Committee in the House, and so we had 5 weeks of tours where we stopped at lots of water treatment plants and got to see the need that is in communities big and small across the state. Oftentimes, these critical infrastructure investments are too expensive for these individual communities and their tax base to take on. And so I think, as a bonding bill is pieced together, this has to be a key part, and historically has been an important part of the bonding bill. It's not that interesting. It's not that flashy to people. It's not going to be on the front page of the Star Tribune, but it's really important to these communities that are trying to make sure that they have the basic infrastructure they need to run a city and a community.
Representative Schultz, your thoughts?
Well, I serve as a commissioner on the Great Lakes Commission, and we're always concerned about water quality in our watersheds, especially around Lake Superior. And serving on the Health and Human Services committees, we do care about the quality of water. And we do want to invest in those water treatment facilities. So I think it should be a priority. We have found in Lake Superior lots of emerging contaminants of concern and microplastics. And so some of our water filtration systems aren't sufficient to address those issues. We've also found a lot of prescription drugs. And so we really do need to care more about our water and the quality of the water, really as a public health issue.
Senator Howe.
Well, thank you. And I do believe that you'll see a lot of bonding in the PFA account and the public facilities. And I think that's a huge deal. But we also need to address, some of these communities have put money into, have bonded for 20 years to put in and upgrade their water treatment systems and their wastewater. And then before they're even half or 3/4 paid for, MPCA is coming back and telling them they need to redo it again. And so I think that's important that we take a look at that and actually give these cities a chance to pay off one before we come back and say, hey, you're failing again. It's tough for these cities to actually meet the standards when the standards are constantly changing on them, and it's tough to do that. So we've got to try to figure that out as they upgrade their systems. And some of these bonds are for 20 years. You can't really come back and force them to redo it again when they're still paying off the other bonds. So it's a complicated issue, but I'm sure that infrastructure is going to be a main emphasis for our bonding this year.
So let's move to a question that received some attention today on the floor of the House, and that is the reimbursement of the unemployment compensation fund, drawn down, understandably so, because of the pandemic. The deadline, or at least a practical deadline that administrative representatives have pointed to for getting this task completed is probably March 15. We did have a floor on the vote in the House. There are differing perspectives on exactly how to handle this. Let's start with you, Representative Schultz. Tell our viewers a little bit about the issue and your perspective on it.
Sure. So we did have a short discussion on the floor of the House today. We have not close to a $9.3 billion surplus. So the DFL team, we want to help businesses, but we also want to help families who are really struggling right now. And with this amount of surplus, I think we can do both things. So we can both help small businesses with the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund, and we should be able to help families with the affordability of housing and food and paid time off, all of the things that working Minnesotans are asking for. And I don't think that March 15th is the true deadline. I believe we have until April 30th is when those taxes would come due. And the Senate proposal for repaying the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund really benefits large corporations more than smaller corporations. So I think we need to decide how we want to allocate state funds and who we want those funds to go to. For example, Amazon, under the Senate proposal, will get close to $2.6 million. Target would get over $11 million. And small businesses, if they only have a few employees, it's about $367 per employee. So do we want to allocate more money to the small businesses? The large corporations may not need as much assistance. So we need to have those types of discussions. And I think we are ready to negotiate and send a bill to the governor as long as we're also helping working families in Minnesota.
Representative Rasmusson, your thoughts on the reimbursement to the unemployment fund and the discussion that took place on the floor today.
Thank you, Justice Anderson. I was disappointed to see that we weren't able to move forward today in the House with replenishing the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund. This is one of these rare issues where we actually have a lot of bipartisan support. This passed the Senate with a veto-proof majority with support from Senate Democrats, Senate Republicans. Governor Walz has come out and said that he supports this proposal that we were pushing for today. And so it's really, just the House leadership, House Democrats, that's holding this up as we look at the March 15th deadline. And for the folks in Otter Tail County, they're really concerned about inflation, the costs of goods and services going up. And this tax increase on Minnesota employers is going to get passed on to consumers. It's going to get passed on to employees. And so I think we have to have a sense of urgency. And I hope that we're able to get this done before the deadline this Tuesday, because we've heard from the administration and Commissioner Grove and his team that if we don't do it by the 15th, it'll be incredibly difficult for their agency to actually avoid these notices from going out and this tax increase from affecting all types of employers here in the state of Minnesota.
Senator Hoffman.
Barry, did you guys get a chance? I mean, you look at and it's interesting to hear that. I wasn't watching the House or the other body because we can't, right, Jeff? We can't use the name of the House when we're on the Senate floor, right? We have to, and see Howe he's House trained, so that's the other one that's pretty funny. At least somebody's got to laugh.
It's a true statement, but I'm not house broke. I'm house trained.
That's it. So, I remember there was a couple of contentions, and I don't know if Jennifer and Jordan, you want to address this. That was the $250 million in bonuses that was embedded in the Senate, and we tried to get it up to $1 billion. There were some folks that wanted to do $1 billion, and the other statement, I remember Eric Pratt on the floor said that the deficit wasn't caused by the employers, right? Every dollar that was paid out the unemployment system went to the Minnesota workers, and so there's this piece of who has what in the game, so to speak, right? And so did you at all talk about maybe upping that bonus to $1 billion just so we could take care of the frontline workers and we can take care of those folks that were in the trenches working at the time? Jennifer, you're shaking your head yes.
Yeah,
so,
we have a bill. This is House File 2900 that would give $1,500 bonus payments to our frontline workers. That's over 600,000 workers. And that bill would be we're proposing $1 billion. So we would like to fund that. We want that to be part of this deal, to get bonuses to those who work so hard during the pandemic. We also want to fix an injustice in the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund. Currently, those working as bus drivers, cafeteria staff, and others aren't eligible for unemployment compensation. And so House File 1035 would help fix that issue, especially in these professions where we need to attract more workers. That would be a $1.2 billion spend.
And you included paraprofessionals in that conversation then? Sorry, Jared.
I believe they're
Barry.
included in that category. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's the disconnect there, Barry, right? The Senate, it was 55-11, and it was pretty much the $250 million in bonuses, and then the 2.7 billion, I think, or
2.7 billion in UI. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But they're totally separate issues in our book,
Correct, and that's the point. The point of contention is there's two separate issues there, and I don't know. Is it worth separating? I don't know.
So, Representative Rasmusson, let me go back and get your reaction to the difference in the two House bills, and then I want to go to Senator Howe, and he can explain maybe a little bit in greater detail the business about it being two separate bills and so forth. But why don't we give you another moment here to kind of talk a little bit about some of these issues, because with the frontline workers and so forth, and how that relates to the unemployment fund issues.
Yeah, the motion that we made on the floor today was to bring forward the bill that had already passed the Senate with that wide bipartisan margin that Senator Hoffman talked about. It has support from Governor Walz. And for us, I don't think we should take Minnesota employers and small businesses hostage to other things that we can still continue to work on throughout the legislative session. We're facing a real deadline on this Tuesday to get this unemployment insurance trust fund replenished. Otherwise, essentially every employer in the state of Minnesota is going to be getting a tax increase at a time when we have a $9.3 billion surplus. And I just don't think that'll make sense to Minnesotans if we go through that deadline without replenishing that unemployment insurance trust fund.
So just so that I'm clear on this, then, with the one bill in the House supported by the Democrats has both of these things in it, dealing with frontline workers and the refunding or reimbursing the House or the unemployment fund, and the Senate bill did not have anything in it for frontline workers.
I don't believe the House bill that maybe the House bill they talked about today had it all in. I'm not quite sure, but the House proposal that we have heard did not fully replenish the UI bill. And I think they only had $1 billion in it.
Okay.
I think what they had is they had $1 billion for UI and $1 billion for frontline workers. And the thing is we passed that UI bill almost a month ago. And what people don't understand, a lot of that unemployment money that was paid out was borrowed from the federal government. And right now, today, we continue to pay somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000 a day in interest that we're going to owe federal government. And that's another reason why it's important to get this thing done. It's almost been a month of $50,000 a day interest on that money that we're wasting. And we could have paid this off a month ago and saved that interest that we owe to the federal government. And but that Representative Rasmusson was exactly right. Every employer is going to get this increase. And if you think this increase is going to hurt them, it is going to hurt businesses, but these businesses are just going to have to raise their prices. And that money and that cost is going to go right down to every Minnesotan that's buying anything. And that's the issue that we're faced with, is we're faced with a lot of inflation right now. This is just going to compound that problem. So, what we said on the Senate floor today is that we're open to looking at how do we get this big surplus we got to do the maximum benefit for most Minnesotans. And let's lay it all out on the table and get it done. But this UI has got to be done and should be a separate conversation compared to what we do with the rest of this money, and trying to get the most benefit we can for all Minnesotans to help them through this troubled times when we've got this large surplus that needs to go back to the people.
So we also have a question from a viewer. We'll probably come back to the unemployment fund thing, I'm sure, before we're done. But we also have a question from a viewer who wants to talk about the frontline worker compensation issue, the issue that was highlighted by Representative Schultz' comments earlier. So let's start with you, Representative Rasmusson. There do appear to be some differences of opinion about who should be included in that and how much. And what is your perspective on that? And what do you think the final result, setting aside the question about whether it's linked to the UI bill or not, what should we be doing about the frontline worker compensation issue? The floor is yours to start with, anyway.
So last session, there was bipartisan agreement on $250 million to be set aside for frontline workers. And for me, those dollars ought to be focused on individuals who really had to shoulder the worst parts of the pandemic. In the community that I represent, long-term care has been a big issue, and Representative Schultz has really highlighted that in her Human Services Committee. And for me, that should really be the priority. The individuals who are working in long-term care are nurses, first responders, people who were truly on the front lines of this pandemic is where we should be prioritizing the dollars. And I think the legislators would love to include everyone, but the issue with that is then you dilute the amount of money that you're able to give to each of the workers, and especially with the workforce crisis that long-term care and healthcare is currently facing, I think having something meaningful for those workers could help keep people in the industry when we are in desperate need of having those frontline workers be in those key industries.
Representative Schultz, This is healthcare economics, I guess. That's a piece of this too. What's your response to the comments from Representative Rasmusson and the general subject of what should that frontline worker bill look like?
I think it should be as comprehensive as possible. So it needs to include not just folks working in long-term care, but folks that were working in our hospitals that were also at the front line of the pandemic, trying to save people's lives and keep people healthy, and people who are working in retail to keep our food shelves stocked. People who are teaching our children. So there are a lot of frontline workers that deserve this bonus pay, and we should get it out there as fast as possible. We did try to help long-term care facilities by pushing out hundreds of millions of dollars already for them to retain and attract workers.
Senator Hoffman, let's go to Senator Howe. We've had you batting cleanup here. Senator Howe, why don't you talk a little bit about the frontline worker bill and what's your thoughts on that? We can't hear you. You have to turn your sound on there.
I have to turn it back on, but we should give Senator Hoffman a chance to hit a home run here instead of always leaving me to have the swing at that. But I firmly agree that we need to take care of those folks that have been actually upfront and personal with the COVID, with the people working in the hospitals, people working in nursing homes, but we're forgetting those folks that work in group homes and those settings. Those folks need to be included in this piece. And I believe the $250 million, I think it was about $1,300 a piece, took care of those folks in group homes, took care of those folks in nursing homes, took care of the nurses, took care of firefighters, EMTs. And I think those are the folks that worked every day, dealt with people with COVID, and were really involved with it. So I truly believe those are the people that we intended when we first started talking about frontline workers. But you know what? If we want to do more, let's have a conversation and put all the money on the table and figure it out and have all the proposals out there and figure out how we're going to do this and how we do the most help and provide the most benefit for the most people. I'm all for that, and I think the Senate would support that.
Senator Hoffman, now you're batting cleanup. Go ahead.
I'm going to bat cleanup on Jeffrey. So the thing is, back in August and then in November is when they had the proposals, and Senator Howe is right on. There's disagreements on the whole thing on eligibility, and there's agreements on where it goes. But he's highlighting something that really needs to also be talked about. Those frontline workers that are working in our group homes, those people that are helping our most vulnerable in the state of Minnesota, right? I agree with Senator Howe that they need to be included in that because they've not had a pay increase. Matter of fact, McDonald's in Burnsville starting pay is $21 an hour, and yet our rate methodology reimbursement rate for folks working in the trenches is $14.70 or something. It's just ridiculous. I mean, that's how people are being paid, and it's disappointing, Barry, that you had a whole group of folks. It was bipartisan across the line, right? And to me, if you're driving toward a win-win, or you're trying to a consensus or get to what's right for people in the state of Minnesota, that means you got to do a couple things. And I've said this before, you got to leave your ego out in the hallway. You got to just dump that ego in the hallway, and you got to have a conversation about what's the task at hand. And in this case, who are the folks that should be benefiting from the fact that they suffered during this process, and we owe them a little bit to say thank you. And I'm there it is. I'm publicly going to agree with Senator Jeff Howe. There you go, Jeff. Put that one in the books, will you?
But I think we're conflating two things. There's the bonus pay that we want to get out as fast as possible. And then there's this whole huge workforce shortage crisis in group homes, in healthcare, in other industries. And there is a lot we need to do. And it's going to take more than 1 year to solve that workforce crisis. And it's going to take more than just raising wages. But we have heard lots of great proposals in my committee and others to increase reimbursement rates so that wages can be increased in those critical caring professions.
So let's move to the other principal topic that we know coming into the odd numbered year is going to be an issue, and that is the question of the bonding bill, and whether the bonding bill affected by this $9 billion surplus. Are there particular bonding projects that there's likely to be pretty good or maybe complete agreement on? What other kinds of bonding related issues are likely to occur between now and the end of the session? Senator Hoffman, let's start with you. Bonding bills, what's your view on that in this odd numbered year?
I learned from Senator David Tomassoni that you would, when they tell you to list your priorities, you rank them 1 through whatever 13, and I have 13 number 1 priorities, Barry. That's what Senator Tomassoni taught me. But I think because we're fiscally vigilant, fiscally solvent, we're a great state right now, and by all means, we still have a pretty good bond rating. Just because we got a budget surplus, which, by the way, I don't think any of us in this room are going to be one of the 3 people sitting in the corner office wondering how that money gets distributed, right? Right? I mean, unless somebody's got some more intel that I have. But the piece is, now is the time, especially, you can borrow money for 1.1%. I mean, it needs to do it. We have fire departments, firehouses that are actually falling apart. Coon Rapids needs to replace one that is 40 years old, Jeff. I mean, it absolutely needs to be replaced. Brooklyn Park, the same thing there. And it's like, get them in. This is the time to do it. Yet there's some really good regional projects that are there, Barry, that are getting into our higher education. There's the Center for Innovation and the Arts in Brooklyn Park that wants to become a regional hub. So there's some people are thinking outside the box on how do we increase that. And yet still sitting in front of us, we have a lot of unmet needs. And this is where some people argue transportation shouldn't be bonding, or transportation needs to be in transportation. But you know what? I think we had a great bonding. The last bonding proposal we had was the most we ever put in the history of Minnesota because of that myth of, it can't be more than $1 billion, but it was this time. And I think we should be investing in Minnesota and looking at going north of $1 billion in the bonding piece as well, because we're good for it and we need to get some things done.
Representative Rasmusson, your thoughts on the bonding bill?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, I serve on the Capital Investment Committee in the House, and so I had a chance to go visit a lot of these projects across the state last year, and there is a lot of need out in the communities that we visited. I think there's going to be broad bipartisan support for asset preservation, looking whether it's our state colleges and universities, state parks, and just making sure that we're keeping up with the assets that the state currently owns and making sure that we can extend the life of those assets and their usefulness. I also think basic infrastructure is going to have bipartisan support, whether you look at roads, bridges. We talked earlier about wastewater. And I would say the other question that we're wrestling with, especially with the federal infrastructure bill, is how that fits into a potential bonding bill as well, and what some of the match requirements could be for the state going forward. And so I think that'll also be a part of the conversation as a bonding bill gets put together this session.
Representative Schultz, your thoughts?
I think we should do a very large bonding bill because construction costs keep rising. So I think now is the time. If we can get it done before the end of session, that would be wonderful. But we need to invest in our infrastructure, invest in our assets. And it's a jobs bill, so it will put more people to work as well.
And so, Senator Howe, your thoughts, bonding bill?
Well, as a transportation guy, I'm going to look for a lot of money into infrastructure, local road and bridge improvements, all those things. Of course, I'm going to go there. But I will tell you that along with that, we have to look at the wetland replacement program also, because that really messes up a lot of our road construction. If you can't if you don't have money in your wetland replacement bank, you can't buy those credits, or you can't develop those wetlands, and it holds up all that stuff. So we've got to put some money there. I do believe that infrastructure is the key. Maintaining our buildings, all of that. I think there's going to be a large a large bonding deal. I just don't. I think they're all going to have to be in bonding. I don't think you're going to see much cash this year in the bonding proposal like you usually do. There's usually some cash projects in there that you can't spend in that aren't eligible for the general obligation bonds. But I don't know if that's going to happen this year. I think if you're going to do cash, you're going to fund it through the general fund, and I don't think it'll end up in the bonding bill this year.
So I'd like to move to a different topic. This is a question that comes up as a result of the dry summer that we had last year. Concerns on the part of farmers for some additional relief there. Been some reporting on this in the Star Tribune. There's a bill that I know that's been floating around. Senator Howe, let's start with you. If you're familiar with this topic, maybe you could talk a little bit about farm relief issues.
Yeah, there's a problem with, we had some drought out there and we need some drought relief, and I think there's money in our ag to go out there and spend. I don't know exactly. I can't remember what that amount is. If it's $5 or $10 million, but there's some money out there to provide some debt relief for those farmers that had that. The struggles with the drought problem that we have out there, and I, if our, especially out here in rural Minnesota, our economy goes the way our farmers go. So we need to make sure that when they struggle, we need to make sure that we keep their livelihood going, because in rural Minnesota, and keeping in mind that we feed the world. I mean, these farmers do great jobs and they produce a lot, but if they have conditions beyond their control, every once in a while we have to step in and give them a helping hand, because it's not the same thing as trying to figure out how you're going to produce a widget at X amount of dollars and make a profit. This is a lot different because Mother Nature comes and deals you a blow once in a while. And we have to recognize that we got to keep our farmers fiscally and financially viable out there, or our entire state is going to suffer for it.
Representative Rasmusson, your thoughts? Drought relief, farmers, the general subject of ag, I guess. Your thoughts?
Agriculture is one of the key industries in Otter Tail County, and I think farmers, producers in my area were really affected by the drought this last year, and they were affected differently. We really saw different conditions, even in fairly small geographic areas. We had a version of a drought relief bill come to the House today. I know there's a different proposal in the Senate, and so my hope is that we get some of the issues ironed out in conference committee and have something that can have broad bipartisan support come out and get passed this session. For me, we really have to provide farmers with some certainty. They're facing really uncertain times. I was talking with some farmers last week, and as they're looking at input prices going up, especially what's going on in Ukraine and the price of oil being a key input, a cost input for them, there's a lot of uncertainty going into this year. And so I think if we're able to get something done this session, that's a targeted relief to those who are really negatively impacted by the drought. That could help them as they're having to make decisions around what to do this growing year.
Senator Hoffman, your thoughts?
Lots of thoughts. I mean, a friend of mine he was trying to find 20,000 seedlings to plant in the land that he had, up in the Mora area. And that seedling drought, the DNR, I mean, it was hard to find. I mean, you talk about trying to find widgets in a snowbank, but he found them. But I think the bill that came off the House today is really sets us in the right direction, because it sets aside, some of the money for livestock producers, and I think specialty crop producers. I think you had some market vendor, farmers market vendors in there too. Jennifer, please, you guys just correct me if I'm wrong, right? But I think it hasn't been. It's sent over to the Senate, so I like Jordan was saying. I don't know. I think they'll have a pretty good conversation. It's Tori Westrom and Mike Sundin Wonderful. Mike
Mhm.
Sundin will be talking about it. But right in the right direction, Barry. It affected everything across that you're trying to grow in Minnesota. So
Representative Schultz, your thoughts?
Yeah, those with livestock are really struggling to find food for their livestock, so they need help. And we passed a bill, 101 to 33 off the floor, bipartisan support, to send $10 million in grants and loans to our farmers. And we put in, I think, around $13 million for the DNR to help them plant more tree seedlings to help address our climate crisis. So it's got a lot of good things in. It'll be up to the Senate to see if they'll take it up and pass it. And if they don't agree with our language, it'll go to conference committee. But we definitely need to help our farmers. All of our small farmers are struggling.
So one regular repeat visit to your legislators every year are questions about fishing and hunting regulations, and we have one this week as well. And this happens to be from a viewer in the Bloomington area and wants to know whether or not senators and representatives support phasing out lead from hunting and fishing. So let's start with you, Representative Rasmusson. What do you think?
It's an important issue. Up in my area, I think we definitely have opinions on both sides. I would say our hunters and fishermen are the most important stewards of our environment, and so this is an issue that oftentimes a lot of them care about and are switching away from lead. But I also know there's concerns around availability, cost, how it's actually going to be enforced, and so I think it's an important topic for us to discuss and look at. But I think it's also important to recognize that people who enjoy fishing in Minnesota, our hunters, are already looking at these alternatives on their own because they really care about the environment and being good stewards of our natural resources.
Do you think, just in fairness to the viewer's question, do you think this is a bill that is likely to see some action in this session, or is this something that is more likely to be addressed in the full legislative session, which of course is always in the even-numbered year?
I guess I would be surprised if this issue traveled on its own, and so I think would probably be more likely to be a part of a broader discussion on policy and budget issues more likely next year. But you never know until the final gavel goes down, Justice Anderson.
Senator Howe, lead in fishing and hunting. What do you think?
Well, the problem with it is we struggled. If any of you have ever been a hunter, and I've been a hunter all my life, this past year was very difficult to find any ammunition, whether it was bismuth, whether it was lead, whether it was steel, didn't make any difference. We've already outlawed the use of lead shot in waterfowl, because when you use waterfowl, usually you sit in one place and you're shooting over a body of water. That's not the case with upland hunting, and usually you're walking along and it's not in one spot, so the lead doesn't get concentrated and usually doesn't cause a problem when you're hunting pheasants or grouse and upland game. It's usually not an issue. I think it's not as big a problem as some folks think it is. But right now, I don't think is the right time to do it when we're already faced with the rising cost of ammunition and the availability. So I think it might be a better idea if we do it later. But they've got to come up with some different avenues for different alternatives that work as well as lead, because not all of it works as well as lead does. Steel doesn't do quite as good. Bismuth is much better, but it's extremely expensive, and it's going to actually price out a lot of folks that would normally be able to go hunting. They just can't afford $50 a box of 25 to go out and you're not guaranteed to hit anything. There's a lot of air around those birds when you're trying to hit them. So I wish I could say every time I pull a trigger, I harvest something, but that's not the case. So in order you can't afford to go buy, to spend $2 a shell when you're not always as prolific when you're hunting as you'd like to be.
Well, I don't pretend to be an expert on this. All I'll say is that the very nice World War II veteran that taught shotguns and shooting to 13-year-old Barry Anderson after watching me shoot for a while suggested I find a different hobby, and I pretty much followed his advice. Senator Hoffman, do you want to talk a little bit about lead shot and lead fishing equipment?
Absolutely. It was on this show, Barry. Kerry Rude, Senator Rude from the Lakes area, talked about we had this. It was like the same exact question, you guys, that came up, right? And so she took her husband out. They went shopping because he said to her, lead is less expensive. Those non-lead bullets are more expensive, a lot more. So she, honestly, God, she took him out and hit all these stores and went shopping and found that there wasn't that much difference in it, right? And then highlighted, and there's a report that was just put out. The University of Minnesota Raptor Center was part of that this past year, and there's 38 states that were part of this report, folks, and 48% of the bald eagles all had lead poisoning in them, high levels of lead poisoning. Matter of fact, the Raptor Center, in the statistics that come in there is that 85 to 90% of the eagles that come into their hospital, and they get, you guys, you got to go there. You got to see this Raptor Center. It's just absolutely amazing right here at the University of Minnesota on the St. Paul campus. But 85 to 90% of the eagles that came into their hospital have some level of lead in their blood. And here's the thing that's, I think, something to really think about is that the x-rays then show fragments of lead bullets in their stomachs. And so if there's a correlation between that and this, then, maybe we should all start looking at what those alternatives are. And to, the good senator from the central part of the state would say, right now there's a supply and demand. But Barry, if you want to get on Highway 10 and cruise out through Coon Rapids to beautiful downtown Anoka, there's this place called Federal Cartridge right on the street called Hoffman Way. If you want to go in there and there's no payola in that, by the way, Jennifer and Jordan. So there's a different.
We should do
Is the
another
highway
tour.
is the street named after you, Senator Hoffman, or
No.
Representative Schultz? Much as we enjoyed our detour into the Federal Cartridge location, maybe you could talk a little bit about the lead shot and lead fishing issues.
Yeah, so I was going to mention the Raptor Center and how sad it is to see those bald eagles with lead poisoning and they're dying. And we have many bills to ban lead ammunition, bait and tackle. And what I'm told from the representatives that lead this initiative is that they're not going to be able to get those bills through the Senate. So it is very sad that we can't eliminate lead, because any amount of lead is dangerous, not just for animals, very dangerous for humans as well. So I think it's time to replace that lead with other materials which are available and affordable, as Senator Hoffman has said. In fact, the materials science department at the University of Minnesota Duluth, they have come up with a lead alternative that's been very successful. So I know there are products out there and our scientists are working on it.
So we have about 10 minutes left. I think we should move on to some questions about education and what we're likely to see this year, not with respect to both elementary and secondary education, but also with respect to higher education. And I recognize it's not a budget year. The budget was set last year, but of course there are some funds available, so that's an issue. And there also have been indications of possible special appropriations for both elementary and secondary and higher education. Representative Schultz, let's start with you. What do you see happening in the area of education in the course of the next several weeks as we head towards the end of May?
Well, there's a lot we need to do. We need to continue making those investments in education. You can see what's happening in Minneapolis when the teachers are striking because their paraprofessionals are not getting the support, the salaries that they deserve, very low salaries. we need to continue making investments in our children and in the future generations. We also need to make investments in early education. There's such a big return to making sure our youngest can develop to their potential. And not just in education, we also need to make very large investments in childcare. Families across the state are really struggling to find and afford childcare, and it's really hurting our labor markets. And when everyone is searching for employees, having childcare available is really going to solve that problem for businesses as well.
Representative Rasmusson, your thoughts?
So, Justice Anderson, when I talked to my constituents back in Otter Tail County about our $9.3 billion surplus, the loud and clear feedback that I get is to focus that on permanent tax relief. If we look at the budget that we just passed last year, it was a major increase in government spending, double digits, if you look across all the different budget categories. And so for me, the focus on exempting Social Security income from Minnesota state income tax is a priority, getting the unemployment insurance trust fund replenished. I'd love to see a repeal of the provider tax, of the sick tax here in Minnesota to help make health insurance more affordable. And so I think even though we do have this very large surplus, it's important to recognize that's because we're overtaxing Minnesotans, and especially as a top 5 tax state in the country by many measures, I think we should look at this historic surplus as an opportunity to give permanent tax relief to Minnesotans, which will help grow our economy, grow that tax base going into the future so that we can continue to support education funding. The only thing I'd add is I think as a part of the bonding bill, especially for higher education, is always a big priority. It's a priority of mine to make sure that our state colleges and universities are prioritized as part of the bonding bill, especially with their asset preservation needs.
Senator Hoffman, education, your thoughts?
There are 3 big things to look for, Barry, and number one is the K-12 education, right? There's always the piece that says, okay, thank you for the gift last year, the 2%, but now they're seeing a need for more because you see an increase in mental health. You're seeing that not just from the student perspective, but also from the teacher perspective. So what are we doing to ensure our classrooms have the support that's needed? We now rank number 1 in the nation in the worst ratio of students to a counselor, a school counselor. And so it's like, how do you say, I really want to prioritize education in Minnesota, yet I'm not going to invest in those supports that are needed, especially if we're not looking at the whole child, right? And we know if you look at the whole child, you're going to have better outcomes in the end, right? And deliver those outcomes. The second thing to look at is, there's a movement. Your former colleague, Justice Page, is asking people to take another look and say it's not just about the Article 13 of the state constitution that says fair and uniform, right? It's not about free, appropriate public education. It's not about FAPE. It's not about that constitutional conversation, Mills versus DC, but rather it's about leveling that up, that education. So that conversation, I don't know where that's going, Barry, because I'm not on the education anymore. But I know that question is still sitting out there on the table. The third thing that people need to look at in Jennifer Schultz, you hit it, right? Childcare workers, 25% of our kiddos in childcare are in some desert, right? I mean, there's nothing to support them. And if we have a workforce problem in Minnesota, yet we can't, pay our childcare or early childhood teachers or our early childhood workers a fair wage, and I say a fair wage, it's like the starting is at $14 an hour, and I think your school districts, if you're lucky, you're at $17 an hour as an assistant or an associate or an aide, right, in that childcare, in that preschool industry, right? And you say to yourselves, well, where's our investment in that? And so I wish I was on that committee, Barry, so we could still have those conversations. But I do know this: if you don't address it now, what are you going to do in the future to address it? It's going to be sitting there in front of us, and that's setting aside the politics on it, just looking at the grassroots. Because I'm hearing from the superintendents, I'm hearing from the teachers, and I'm hearing from parents about the mental health concerns that are out there. But what are we doing in the state of Minnesota? Sorry, Barry. Go ahead.
Senator Howe, education.
Senator Hoffman, I think, hit part of the problem that we passed a position last year to address some child care problems with the family child care. We passed a bill to have a position of the family child care ombudsperson that people could call if they had problems with their licensor, if they needed help getting and starting a child care center. And I can't believe it that we passed that last session, and it's still, they have no progress on actually filling that position to help the people out there wanting to get into the business or having problems staying in the business and providing child care, and they haven't filled the position yet. I can't believe that we do good work in the legislature and the administration isn't responding and filling those positions that would drastically help provide those needed services to get those young people in a position and help our folks be able to go out and get a job in the workforce.
All right. Well, with that thought, Senator Howe, we have run out of time. I want to thank our distinguished panel of guests for assisting us with our program this evening. I want to invite you, the viewers, to join us next week and all the weeks that follow for your legislators and your opportunity to send questions to those who represent you. Thank you and good night.
Your Legislators is made possible by the Minnesota Corn Growers Association. From developing best practices that help farmers better protect our natural resources to the latest innovations in corn-based plastics, Minnesota corn farmers are proud to invest in third-party research leading to a more sustainable future for our local communities. Minnesota Farmers Union, standing for agriculture, working for farmers. On the web at mfu.org.